Benjamin Sesko has exploded into form.
Sesko again was fantastic.
It's some turnaround, isn't it? I mean, he only scored twice all season under Ruben Amorim. Since he left, he's had 7 appearances and 6 goals. Benjamin Sesko.
Not long ago, however, the outlook on the 22-year-old was far less optimistic. Questions about his inexperience, coupled with United's missed opportunity to sign a more experienced striker in the summer, sparked fears he might be yet another high-profile overseas signing to flop in the Premier League. But on the contrary, this is how Sesko is helping turn this season around for United. While Sesko had a slight dip in his second season at Leipzig, netting 13 goals compared to 14 in his first, despite playing 13 more matches, the 22-year-old arrived as an unpolished diamond with immense potential. As it's turned out, the Slovenian hasn't made as obvious an impact as his fellow summer arrivals, and to some, even looked like a Ten Hag level investment.
Coming in with that price tag, and then you look at how Cunha and maybe Mbeumo settled in a lot quicker because they played in the league before. This kid's younger and he's obviously not played in the Premier League.
However, his contributions have hardly been meagre for such a young player adjusting to a new country and league, especially after arriving on a late summer transfer. After missing much of pre-season, he didn't make his first start until early September, scoring in both of his first 2 90-minute outings against Brentford and Sunderland, before a knee injury sustained against Spurs sidelined him for a month between November and December. Injury and AFCON absences made the following month a challenging one for Ruben Amorim and then caretaker manager Darren Fletcher. But if there was one silver lining during this period, it was the return of Sesko, who netted 3 goals in 2 games under Fletcher, in stark contrast to the 2 he managed in 17 appearances under Amorim. Each of his 3 goals also showcased his varied skill set. A clever run in behind, precise timing to get into the box, and a scrappy set-piece effort that exemplified the kind of opportunistic strikes that keep a striker's tally on the rise. However, this uptick in goals didn't magically arise from Fletcher's shift away from Amorim's 3-4-2-1 system. Instead, it's been the result of Sesko's growing confidence and increasingly consistent off-ball movements since his return from injury. While still adjusting to the league, he struggled with his killer instinct in front of goal, making it feel like bringing a sword to a shootout when he led the line. His average non-penalty XG per shot of 0.16 over the last 2 seasons, even lower than Rasmus Højlund's 0.21, also suggested that positioning would prove his biggest weakness. But now, he takes shots from more sensible areas in the final third and with enough frequency to remain a constant threat, something Rasmus Højlund struggled with during his second season at the club. In a standout performance against Burnley, for instance, the striker recorded 39 touches, 13 of which were inside the opposition box, enabling him to unleash a total of 8 shots. This was preceded by 4 shots against Leeds, 8 against Wolves and 4 against Newcastle United, as well as 5 against Brighton in the FA Cup. These shot outputs reflect the kind of numbers United fans would long to see from their striker when facing teams that prefer to sit deep. By the way, if you're enjoying the video so far, we'd be incredibly grateful if you subscribed. Your support helps us grow and continue creating the content you love. His goal return has been far from meagre too, and when you factor in his FA Cup goal, he isn't far from averaging a goal every other game based on his minutes played. In fact, his 0.49 non-penalty goals per 90 actually places him among the league's top 3 most efficient strikers, alongside Erling Haaland and Hugo Ekitike. His ratio could have looked better too, having already rattled the woodwork 3 times this season. And while Sesko's contributions outside of scoring often go unnoticed for a striker, his speed, aerial ability and mere physical presence make him an imposing target man for teammates to build their attacks around. His ability to make runs in behind is also vital for United's strategy to protect leads. This was on full display against Newcastle, where his subbing off for Xerxes in the 60th minute led to the loss of a crucial passing outlet up front, leaving United pinned back at the end of a game in which Newcastle could easily have turned the tide and snatched a point or even 3. But while Sesko had been the preferred striker under former boss Amorim, he found himself on the bench in Carrick's first 3 matches with Mbeumo shining up front. And we're not talking about his head here. Nonetheless, he remains vital in the team's attacking plans. Perhaps the narrative of Sesko's struggles arises from his inconsistency or the fact that he hasn't yet delivered a defining goal or moment. That was until his hair-raising last-minute winner against Fulham at the Stretford end. And then again when he finished off a slick counter to snatch victory from Everton. Despite starting on the bench for 6 successive games, he's made decisive impacts 3 times in the last 4 games, including scoring 2 winners and an equaliser in the last 3, which have single-handedly rescued 7 points for his team. Having warmed the United bench more than his girls' cheeks, he's steadily being given more minutes as a super sub with each passing game. But at this rate, it's only a matter of time before Carrick can't keep him on the bench.
Patience is one thing for him, and building him and help him grow as a player and developing as a player here. And he's patient, and he understands that. You know, he's going to be a big player for us for a long period of time, I'm sure of that.
United, of course, had hoped Højlund would become the focal point of their attack after investing an initial £62 million in him 2 years ago. However, he failed to build on a relatively promising first season, scoring just 4 league goals last term despite an XG of 5.2. Sesko, by contrast, has not only already decimated the Danes' league tally from last season with 7 goals so far, but is also outperforming his own XG by 0.74. Granted, United's issues ran deeper than a single misfiring striker, and it's still too soon to declare Sesko a guaranteed upgrade. But his blend of pace, height, technique and physicality very much make him a more rounded centre-forward capable of influencing the game in various ways.
Because when Isak went into Newcastle, he didn't have a prolific record either, but he seemed to have all the attributes to become a top player, and he's become that top player. And I think it's the same sort of thing with this guy. He's got all the attributes to become a top player. He's not there yet, but he can become that top player.
One notable weakness of Højlund's game was his hold-up play, which often stalled United's attacks more than my internet connection when I tried to stream a match. Compare this to Sesko, who not only scored the winning goal against Everton, but also culminated his progress in training with a strong display in hold-up play, completing 100% of his passes and losing possession just twice in a 32-minute cameo. His willingness to tussle with centre-backs and win duels is another positive sign, reflected in his duel success rate of 44.4%, being well above Højlund's 33.4% over the past 2 seasons. And even when Sesko wasn't scoring regularly as he is now, his overall play stayed strong, and most crucially, he didn't let it affect him mentally. Højlund, by contrast, played as if his family were held at gunpoint every game, and each blank only drained his confidence further. But there is a key difference in the situations they stepped into at United. Unlike Højlund, who was tasked to be the focal point for a blunt attack, Sesko is one of 3 shiny pieces in a new forward line that has cost the club north of £200 million. That changes the burden, as turning United's attack around hasn't fallen on Sesko alone. Instead, it's been a shared responsibility among the new arrivals. And with the quality he brings, the confidence he exudes, and his role as a key facilitator in his team's game plan, it looks like United may have finally addressed their long-standing issue in the striker position. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe for more content like this. Also, don't forget to hit the notifications bell so you never miss a beat. And with that, we'll see you in the next video.